Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, college football fans across the nation and around the world. This is Tim May with the Tim May Show featuring Clay Hall. Clay, I missed you at the end of the week last week.
South Kakalaki called. Mom, yeah.
Is that what y'all call it down there in South Carolina? I never heard that.
A little bit. And, yeah, from the hospital to the rehab after breaking her hip. She's almost 94 in January.
Man.
And good times with Mom and my little big brother, Dean, as he worked his skid steer loader on the front yard. Oh, my Lord. What a time.
He's got plans, man.
Yeah, he does.
Don't step in front of Dean when he's got that front end loader at full steam. Pretty interesting, but at least he's killing time.
That's right. I gave you the cliff notes on that.
Yeah, exactly. Still interesting because I am a person who has rented a front skid steer many times in my life. Got 4.5 acres, 2.5 are basically 2.5 are basically horse pasture and stuff. And I've done all kinds of things. Even when we were at a 5-year lull when we didn't have horses. After we had our first couple of kids, I built a go-kart track in the back pasture. You can still, if you can Google it. If you Google our property, you can still see remnants of this basically Darlington-like egg-shaped oval I built and put banking in for a couple of go-karts we had. And a fun was had by all. But then we got into the horse business again. And, my kids didn't really take to the go-kart like I hoped they would, and so that was that. But
you drove it, right?
Drove what?
The go-kart?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
I probably drove more than anybody, but because it was fun, man. You could go fast. I mean, do you really want to go into that turn without lifting? Yes. Sign me up. And it had banking, and it had slight banking, but like a little slight roll over the top of the banking. And you could get away with stuff and not get killed doing it. But the better thing about a go-kart is, though, usually they don't have seat belts. So I had a couple times where I kind of rolled out.
Yeah.
And then rolled back in. But hey, that's a story for another day. Still fun, though. When you got a little property and you can do some things, it's fun, especially with the skid steer and various other implements you can. As long as I've lived there, we've lived there I think we've lived there, since 1985. So we've lived there 40 years.
Yeah.
I've never owned a what I call a real tractor. You know what I mean? A real tractor. I've owned, obviously, what I call them Sears tractors, Craftsman tractors, et cetera. And then I got into the zero turn business. And I've rebuilt one of the cylinders on my zero turn earlier this year during the summer, when all of a sudden I'm going, I think I'm running on one cylinder, not two, and rebuilt the cylinder head, and which I'd never done before, but now I could do it like that, man. I mean, it's pretty funny when you do something once, how you learn how to do it. But
we could have used you in South Kakalaki, but I know you had to run the show here. So.
But I love equipment. One of my best friends, man, he got his what is it called? Big equipment license, or where we can drive bulldozers and earth movers and excavators and things like that. He got that almost right out of high school, and I always wished I had done that, because I think I can't watch enough of Gold Rush and things like that where they're moving dirt, man. It's one of the funnest things to do. So good for your brother.
Yeah.
Discovering that inner dirt moving inside him that lives in every man, I do believe.
I was like, I'm the apprentice again. Yeah. I did this for Dad for
You're fired.
40.
You're fired.
He's like, Clay, if you don't want to work, go home. I said,
oh my goodness.
Oh, yeah. But he came over to me like 15 minutes later. He goes, man, I'm sorry.
Yeah, of course he did.
I'm sorry, man.
He had that red mist.
You're my big, anyway.
He had that red mist come over him when you're driving anything that has a lot of power to it. Even a little skid steer has a lot of power compared to what you're used to riding around in. So I get it. Meanwhile, your mom's inside going, what's that racket? What's that racket? But we both digress. Bottom line is, Ohio State, I did miss you. But Ohio State's in preparation for the Cotton Bowl against who? Miami or Texas A&M. That'll be decided this weekend when Miami plays at Texas A&M in the first round of the college football playoffs. The winner takes on number 2 seeded Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl in Dallas. It seems like that's where Ohio State goes every year for some kind of game. But the Cotton Bowl in Dallas on Friday night, or not Friday night, New Year's Eve, December the 31st, the only game on that day. And then the next day on New Year's Day, we'll have 3 of the quarterfinal games of the CFP. But looking forward to that. Looking forward to hearing from maybe some Buckeyes and Coach Ryan Day and maybe a couple of coaches in the interim here between now and Christmas, before they break for Christmas and reconvene.
Have we heard anything
in Dallas
on any pending
no, but it could
availabilities?
No, it could come down any moment now, any time now. In the interim,
yeah,
Ohio State's been reaping awards and rewards from a 12-0 regular season, and then they got beat by Indiana in the Big Ten championship game, 13-10. That seems like that was a long time ago now.
It was no question.
And
the lull in here is driving me crazy.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we have a game. Was it Saturday at noon, so we can find out. What's the better matchup? You got any feeling on that at all? I was kind of lulling that over.
No, I think either one will present challenges for Ohio State, but not the same challenge I don't think it faced against Indiana.
Yeah.
Because I think they can throw the ball on either one of these teams, but you got to protect. And what blew them up against Indiana was right when Julian Sayin was at launch mode a few times. A guy penetrated and got in there and shoved him off so they didn't get as many big plays as they're used to. Well, not at all. They only scored 1 touchdown.
Right. And I don't know. It looks like to me that Gabe Van Sickle is going to fill that right guard spot. We still haven't heard anything definitive on that, but he had 29 snaps, I think.
Well, Tigger Shabola was banged up, it looks like, going into that Big Ten championship game. And now he, as it's been reported, I think, by Letterman Rowe, my old stomping grounds, there's a good chance he might. Well, I don't know. I'm not going to put that definitive because, guys, Luke Fickell played with a torn pec in the Rose Bowl. So not that I'm putting Tigger Shabola on the same line with Luke Fickell. You never know what football players will do, because here's the thing about it is this is the oddest time of the year for a football team is the playoffs, because you've got to be thinking along the lines of attrition over what's going to be a 3-game run for Ohio State if it wins a national championship for a second straight year. But you've got to be thinking all hands on deck, because if you get beat, you're done in the first game. So it's a strange time, for all concerned, even the players, because the players want to play 9 times out of 10. They want to get out there.
Yeah.
But, can you afford to maybe sit somebody who's banged up for the first game? Think you'll get him back for the second game, because if you don't win the first game, there is no second game. So
it might be a blessing in disguise, if Tegra is sit.
See, I think Tegra has been off and on, man.
He earned the start,
but he's been banged up evidently. So, well, he started.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. So, but anyway, we'll see where that goes. That's the only news. The real news is Ohio State's got how many first team All-Americans now after Sonny Styles was added to the list by being named to the Sporting News first team. By the way, the Sporting News, Bill Bender, our good buddy, is huge guy there. But they've got a record tying 7 players from one team who have been made at least one first team All-American, which ties the 1974 team with Archie Griffin and his cast of characters. But it's pretty interesting. You've got Caden Curry, who's been on at least one first team.
Hallelujah.
You've got Caleb Downs, who's been on every first team I can think of, along with winning the Thorpe Award, the Lott Impact Trophy, being named the Nagurski-Woodson Defensive Player of the Year in the Big Ten, and the Big Ten Tatum-Woodson Defensive Back of the Year. You've got Carson Hinsman, center, who was named first-team All-American by the American Football Coaches Association. You've got Caden McDonald, who's been first team on almost every team that I've known about. I've been talking about him being maybe the best defensive tackle in the country this year. I think that's been proven out, at least by other people who've voted him that way, including he was named the Big Ten Smith Brown Defensive Lineman of the Year. Shows you what he's all about. You've got Arvell Reese, first-team All-American on almost every team. second team All-American on another. He's also the Big Ten's Butkus Fitzgerald linebacker of the year, which we talked about earlier. You've got Jeremiah Smith, first team on almost every team known to man this year, but he wasn't the Bolitnikoff Award winner. That went to Mekhi Lemon of Southern Cal, who, by the way, Jeremiah Smith beat out for wide receiver of the year in the Big Ten.
Right.
But, it's a vote, man. People vote.
Okay. Is that your list? Because I
no, wait.
Oh, you got more. All right.
That was one more. First team, Sonny Styles, All-American.
Okay.
On the Sporting News, and second team on several other teams. Then you've got second teamers, Carnell Tate on the AFCA, the Sporting News, Associated Press, and On 3. And you've got Julian Sayin, second team All-American on the AFCA, and Walter Camp, third team on Associated Press. Freshman All-American for the Athletic, and the Big Ten's Randall L, freshman of the year. He is a redshirt freshman, but as I like to say, man, never really liked that because Rex, he's the same age as Rex Kern was when he was a sophomore, when he had to sit out his freshman year, if you remember back in 1968.
All right.
So they're the same year in school, but they still can be considered for freshman of the year. And of course, he won all those freshman of the week awards in the Big Ten as it went along. And of course, he was a Heisman Trophy finalist. Julian Sayin was this year, finished fourth in that voting. As I said all along, the winner of the Big Ten championship game was going to reap the bountiful number of votes from people who are undecided between Julian Sayin and Fernando Mendoza. I do believe that's how it went down, if you were to decipher the votes. And so that's why he went to fourth. And I know people have a hard time, you didn't win it, so it really doesn't matter where you finished after that. It's Ricky Bobby's daddy, he thought his daddy said, you're first or you're last. He goes, no, Ricky, you can be second, or you can be third.
All right, clarify one thing for me.
Yeah, who's the guy that's missing?
Well, no, Sayin made 8 for me.
No, it's not 8. I'm talking about first team All-Americans. He wasn't first team All-American. He was second team.
Right. But all right. But to warrant a tree,
first team All-American
has to be first team.
Yeah.
Like consensus.
Seems like if you're a Heisman finalist, you ought to be you ought to get a tree. You ought to get maybe we'll see. And this Ryan Day said almost like he anticipated what the vote was going to be. And, anybody could anticipate what it was going to be. I mean, Fernando Mendoza of the last several days was the odds on over the top favorite to win the Heisman. As Ryan Day said, you got to remember, this is his first year as a starter, meaning first year he's played in college football, talking about Julian Sayin, meaning more is about to come. And then when you consider Jeremiah Smith's going to return, Chris Henry's on the way, and we'll see who else they get along the way. But you got to figure, and you got Bo Jackson, who, by the way, was a freshman All-American. That doesn't count as first team All-American, was freshman All-American on a couple of teams. They're going to be loaded offensively again coming back. And so Ryan Day kind of like put the precursor out there that more is going to be seen from Julian Sayin and associates going in. But that's 7. That's 7 Buckeye Grove trees that need to be bundled up and ready for planting. So they keep Straders or somebody in business, right? My daughter planted a Buckeye tree in our front yard about 4 years ago, and it's actually growing pretty well, and it's been yielding Buckeyes for the last 2 years. I mean, it's a pretty interesting little tree, but a lot of trees that are perceived as Buckeye trees aren't Buckeye trees because they don't actually grow as well as they used to in Ohio.
No fruit.
Yeah, but that's neither here nor there. Yeah, bitter nut is what you get. You get a bitter nut from a Buckeye tree. Come on, Clay, you knew that.
Well,
there's no fruit unless you're a squirrel. I'm not sure they even eat them.
It's a relative term.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool for them. They're going to have to enlarge that space. I mean, we were over there in August shooting this thing, and I was like, I
took a picture of Archie Griffin's tree and Rex Kern's tree. I think Archie's got 2 trees. He might have 3. I may be wrong. Maybe be just one.
Should have 2.
But one I think Archie's tree was in a lot better shape than Rex's was, and I think I sent Rex Kern a picture of that.
Were they next? I mean,
no, they were down the street from each other. They were on the same little path, but down the street from each other. Maybe one's blocking out the other.
Yeah, maybe it's a shade issue.
Yeah, like a rainforest. That's why nothing grows.
That's right.
In the bottom of a rainforest because the sunlight can't get there. Not enough sunlight. But yeah, it'd be interesting. Like I agree, Buckeye Grove needs expansion.
Yeah,
maybe that could be added to whatever refurbishment list and whatever they put on Ohio Stadium. Put $1 million in there to enlarge Buckeye Grove. Maybe put a golf course in it.
I mean, yeah, it's going to get to the point where it's infringing on that marching band 100-yard little football field south of the shoe.
It does have a ways to go, but I can see shade. In the middle of the summer, shade hitting that marching band field from there, because you and I did a stand up there. Yeah. The Clay May report at one point this summer.
A stand up. You sound like a TV guy.
Well, we were standing up, and it was a stand up, what I call a stand up squint, because you're looking dead into the sun, and you're going, "What am I doing here? Who's going to watch this?" But a few people did. Not as many as watched that seasick inducing video we did where I walked. I said, we're going to do a walk and talk. And I'm going to hold the camera, and it looked like we were on high seas.
It did. It was a little,
high seas with a tsunami, or not a tsunami, but a hurricane blowing in. Anyway, hey, I had a great chance, by the way, to have a conversation with one of my, he's as good a friend as I've got. Let me put it that way. Best friends. Yeah. Define best friends. As good a friend as I've got. And Jeff Snook. I try to have at least one on here every year on my podcast, as long as I've been doing these podcasts for 7 years, different production companies. But we, as I point out, we had gone out to dinner. We go out to dinner a lot. When I hit him up, I go up to see him in his cabin up off Charles Mill Lake up there between just east of Mansfield. He's a native of Ashland. That's why he has that place, even though his main domicile is in at Atlantis, which is just south of West Palm Beach, down in Florida. And I'll go down there and hang out with him occasionally on that deal. Matter of fact, if Ohio State gets to the national championship game in Miami, I'm definitely going to hang out with him, play a little bit of golf. But the bottom line is we did a little sit down in his cabin, and it's pretty good because I did get enough light on our faces for you to be able to see our faces. We both had dark shirts on. You'll see it here in a minute. And but I had my wireless mic, so you got these two little blue lights on each one of us showing up and stuff. But as with any conversation I have with Jeff, whether we're sitting right here at a table, we're sitting in a restaurant, we're sitting at a bar. We like to go to a restaurant, but eat at the bar because you get quicker service, better service.
Yes.
And
you get to mingle a little bit.
Yeah. But the main thing, but anyway, there's all kinds of reasons why we do that. But the point is, it does dissolve into a little bit of a couple of little arguments between him and me, because I don't know if argument's the right word, but you'll hear me, you'll hear us apologize a little bit at the end. I'm sorry, but we're both passionate about different things. And one of the things he's very passionate about is the offense, the short yardage offense, the goal line red zone offense about Ohio State, which clearly, again, this season against better opponents has been lacking.
An issue.
Yeah. And he comes up, he puts forth his theory on how they could fix it, which he's done before, but it's pretty fun. But in the meantime, I also wanted to promote this book that he wrote about his dad. His dad was a highly decorated soldier in World War II in the Pacific Theater. Almost every major landing in the Pacific Theater he was in on. And so he wrote a book about him, but he incorporated in the book things about his own career, which are interesting. I mean, you wouldn't necessarily equate a sports writer with an Army guy, who had bullets flying around him, had people dying around him and stuff. But I mean, just some of the coincidences is what it's more about. And it's not all about that. It's mainly about his dad, but he throws in some sports writing adventures he was in on, people he got to meet, et cetera.
Sure.
Because he's written a slew of books is the best way of putting it, about, with different guys. I mean, Frank Beamer, he did his autobiography, or basically As Told To book, former Virginia Tech coach. I did several books on Oklahoma football, done many books on Ohio State football and of different ilks and things. And, he did the guy that started Hawaiian Tropic. He got paid by that guy to do his autobiography. And the guy ended up dying before it was Prince was his name. He ended up dying before the thing was published. But then he got into a row. I'm not supposed to tell them. He got into a row with the heirs or whatever about different rights that Prince had given him, granted him, in certain ways and stuff. That's as interesting as the book, almost as the book. But a lot of people had bought that book because, the Hawaiian Tropic brand. I mean, this guy knew everybody, and he came from nothing. I mean, he literally came from nothing. I think that book's up for sale also. But this book, I'm going to get up in front of the camera here and show a little up close photo of the cover of the book, which I do believe is available. I'm not sure exactly where it's available yet. You can get on Jeff's Facebook page and probably have him send you one too, but it's sold pretty well already. It's called From Ohio to Okinawa. That's the main name of the book. And it's basically my father's stories of life, death, and survival on the battlefields in the Pacific during World War II by Jeff Snook. Here's a photo of the cover of the book, From Ohio to Okinawa. I was just talking about, done by my good buddy, Jeff Snook. And, but I give it up to guys who write books. That's why we had Bill Rabinowitz on, a month and a half ago, about his new book, detailing last year's run to the national championship. And as Ryan Day said after the Michigan game, in the post game, he said, Bill, talking about something, he goes, that'll probably be in the next book or whatever. And Bill kind of laughed, but gave Bill a shout out without giving him a shout out. Those are the best ones, the unsolicited shout outs. But for the term, instead of wasting more time here, let's get to my conversation with my good best buddy. As everybody, most of the people who know me think Jeff's first name is my good buddy, Jeff Snook, because that's what I always call him. But without further ado, let's get to my conversation with Jeff Snook.
Behind the scenes, but Jeff Snook, welcome back to the Tim May Show, my man.
Thanks for having me, Tim. I appreciate it. I love your show. Do a good job.
What about Clay Hall? What do you think about him? Is he all right?
Clay's an old buddy. I love Clay. Clay's a great guy. He's retired now, right?
Yeah, but he's working with me, man. This is the Tim May Show featuring Clay Hall.
Yeah, that's quite a pair.
Yeah. I just want to get your take on the whole college football milieu, if you follow my drift there, Jeff. We've been talking about this for a while. You and I have, but let's put something, instead of pen on paper, let's put voice on recording. Number one, just right off the bat, it's playoff time. Notre Dame did not make the playoff field. Let's just start with the hottest topic that was going on. Obviously, Ohio State's the number 2 seed. Your beloved Ohio State's the number 2 seed behind Indiana. After that game, we'll talk about a little bit of that in a minute. But what was your stance when you found out Notre Dame did not make the field, the 12-team field for this college football playoff?
Well, after watching the SEC championship game, I'm in the corner that I think Notre Dame deserved to be in the field and not Alabama. So I understand Alabama had to play an extra game. They didn't want to penalize them for that. But at the same time, they didn't really show up and compete in that ball game.
Right.
I mean, I saw signs they didn't even want to play the game. When you watch that game, it was 21-0 at one point, ended up 28-7. It wasn't that close. So that's their third loss. So if I would have been the committee, I would have solved the Miami-Notre Dame dilemma by putting them both in and leaving Alabama out. And I think that was the safest route. I think they're two better teams right now than Alabama. That's crucial. Yep. Nobody's brought that up, but if they played each other, I think Miami would be favored over Alabama slightly. I think Notre Dame would be favored over Alabama by 4 to 5 to 6 points. And they've got 2 losses each. They played a heck of a game on Labor Day night. And, there's a walk-off field goal that Miami won. But I just disagreed with the way it went down. I disagree with them flip-flopping at the end. These rankings are a farce that are weeks, whatever they are, 8 through 13. I mean, it's nothing but for TV ratings, but it shows they don't mean anything when they take two teams that haven't played since and flop them.
Yeah.
So, no, I just believe Alabama should have been left out, Miami and Notre Dame in, and I don't think you would have near the controversy. You would have had one team in the state of Alabama complaining, and they really didn't have a valid complaint given the way they played in their final game.
Yeah. I'm in agreement with you on the ratings thing, and the ratings is purely for TV and talk radio so people can, keep college football at the forefront, et cetera, there from late October all the way to the final ratings. But I do understand the way Hunter Yurchek explained one thing about Miami. When the first ratings came out, Miami had lost, he said, I think something like 2 of its last 3 games in the first ratings period. Okay. Alabama was on that run where they beat 5 teams in a row, 4 out of 5 teams in a row that were in the top 25. So when you rate those teams at that moment, that's what they probably looked like. That not Alabama, Notre Dame was on a run. So when you rate those teams at that very moment, Notre Dame looked like it had gotten itself together, and Miami looked like it was losing itself in the midst of the season. So when you rated those two teams, you would put Notre Dame ahead of Miami based on how they were playing then. That's the way he basically explained it. And then he said, at the final analysis, when Brigham Young got beat for the second time by Texas Tech, Brigham Young was sitting there right in between Notre Dame and Miami. So suddenly Notre Dame and Miami were contiguous.
Yeah, I don't buy that. Yeah.
I know. Well, no, I'm just saying, but I can understand. But, you could have fixed that. You could have fixed that conundrum by putting Notre Dame and Miami right next to each other 3 weeks ago. That's the way I looked at it. Bottom line is Notre Dame's not in. Notre Dame has taken its ball and gone home. They're not going to a bowl game. They're pouting about it. I understand pouting about it. But I don't understand just checking out.
Well, the argument when they're 9-11, I believe it was, and BYU's 10th, and now BYU gets beat, and now they're side by side, so we compare them.
Right.
That's one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard.
Well, but then when you compare them, Miami beat Notre Dame.
You're still comparing them when they're 9-11. Just with BYU,
I agree.
You're comparing them. BYU loses, drops out. Now you're going to flip-flop them. Bear in mind,
I agree.
When the ratings come out, Miami's got 2 losses, Notre Dame's got 2 losses, one of which is to Miami. They've both got 2 losses. And do you know how many spots they were ranked differently? 9 and 18. That's absurd.
Yes.
I mean, that doesn't make sense to me. They got to be closer than that. Now, Miami didn't have, they say Notre Dame didn't have valid wins other than USC. Not valid, but, strength.
Notre Dame didn't have valid wins.
I say Miami. Yeah, Notre Dame.
And that came, I think, just before the first rankings came out.
Yeah, so, the committee is backtracking, trying to rationalize, make sense of this, and I just think they contradicted themselves throughout the process. But the final process, the people in the South are going to agree with this, the final results, and I disagree with it. I think this is the first time now since 2014 the playoff rankings I really disagreed with, and this is only the second year of the 12 team. But all those years of the 4 team, I thought they got it right pretty much, and it's a lot easier. Let's face it. I think it's a lot easier to do 4 than 12.
Because, dude, once you go to 8, there are 10 teams that think they ought to be number 8. Once you go to 12, there are 12, 13 teams that think they ought to be 12. I understand. You know what I mean? That's the funny thing about it. And the thing about it is, I thought the top 4 at the end of all the playing, including the championship games, the conference championship games, I thought the top 4 were clear to me. I think exactly the way they came out. Indiana, Ohio State, Georgia, and Texas Tech.
I completely agree. And the team that would have been arguing that was left out would have been Oregon.
Would have been Oregon.
Their loss was the number 1 Indiana.
Correct.
By 10 points at home. So there's only going to be somebody complaining.
Right.
But the top 4 seeds.
But that'd be one team that had a real complaint.
Right. The top 4 seeds would have been in the 14 playoff. This is 2 years ago.
Yeah, I agree. And Alabama, whatever. I think it's almost like they felt sorry for leaving Alabama out last year, so that it's a make good. Because I've argued that with my baby brother, Tony, who's going to be 68 years old, by the way. He's a huge Alabama fan. I was when I was 10, 11, 12 years old. Not so much anymore because I just don't like I don't like the whole stuff that goes on from the Southeastern Conference once the ratings start coming into focus and they just start lobbying from day one. And it bugs me that in fact it looks like they were listened to.
Well, it's a guy named Greg Stanke, the commissioner. He gets 5 in, and he did this for the NCAA basketball tournament last year.
Right.
And they end up winning it all with Florida. I forget the number they got in. It was an absurd number of so many basketball teams, too.
But they won it, too, so go ahead.
Yeah, but I mean, he pushes for that, and he's got great lobbying power. But, you know, you got 5 SEC teams and 1 ACC team. And like I said, Notre Dame and Miami are pretty equal all the way around. One team beat the other. But to solve that, you put them both in.
Yeah.
And Alabama gave you the perfect excuse the way they played to leave them out. They would have complained, but it wasn't as legit as Notre Dame's complaint. To me, my opinion.
No, I absolutely agree with you. I mean, 100%. So it's one of the few times we've ever agreed on anything.
Yeah, it is.
But let's just jump ahead now. Ohio State. You're a well-known Ohio State connoisseur. Is that the best way of putting it?
Connoisseurs of food.
No, but that's what I'm saying.
Since I've retired from being a sports writer, I admit it.
You consume Ohio State football.
I'm a fan. I went to school there. I've followed them since 1969. I follow them.
Right.
I've seen every game.
Yeah. You mean you weren't aware of them in '68?
68, I was 8 years old. I think I watched the Rose Bowl when they beat O.J. Simpson. But my first vivid memory is the 69-24 12 upset at Michigan when they're number 1. I can remember watching that game. The Rose Bowl with Rex Kern, when they beat USC and won the national title, it's not a vivid memory to me.
Wow, that's weird.
I don't know what I was doing that day.
That's funny because my dad started taking me and my older brother Ben to Alabama home games when I was 7 years old, and I remember almost every one of those. But that's neither here nor there.
Let me follow.
I've always been a lot smarter than you.
My first spring game was at April 4th. 4 months later, after the 69 game, and I sat there, and Lou Groza was in the stands, got my picture taken with him. Afterwards, we went up to the old Biggs facility, which is now the Woody Hayes Athletic Center.
Yeah.
And Jim Stillwagon walked out with cleats around his shoulder and got a good picture of him. I'm 9 years old now. I got a good picture of him and I together. And later on, when I wrote a book, What It Means to Be a Buckeye, he and I recreated that picture, 40 years later or whatever it was, and put it in the front. And Jim was a good friend. He was a great guy. Yeah. God rest his soul.
No kidding.
But and then my first real game in the stadium was Archie Griffin's breakout game, September 30th, 1972, when he rushes for 239, which is the school record. No, before the game, nobody heard of him.
Right.
And 3 hours later, he owned the school record.
Why?
Gets North Carolina.
He was a freshman. He was a first-year freshman.
First year eligibility.
First year eligibility. Well, they were eligible a long time ago. It was first year after they came back. They could be eligible. And Woody Hayes put him in the game.
Right.
So there were a lot of things that had to come together there.
Carry the week before, he fumbled against Iowa. When they pulled him out, he thought he'd never see the field again.
Yeah. We could sit here and talk old-time stories forever. That's not what this is about.
But
I digress. But he digressed. I'm back on the beam here. That's what I wanted to ask you. I mean, where would you put Ryan Day now in the way you feel about him compared to this time a year ago as we record this? This is basically the second week in December. Second week in December last year, they were getting ready to play Tennessee in the college football playoff first round at home in Ohio Stadium at night, freezing cold weather. But the point is, you were kind of down on Ryan Day after a fourth straight loss to Michigan.
You should have asked me a week ago. I feel a little differently than I do today. No, let me start by saying this. Ryan Day is an excellent football coach, perfect football coach for Ohio State. Represents the university in a first-class manner. I love everything about him except for one. Throughout his tenure, you and I have talked/argued about this since 2019. He's struggled in the red zone on that offense. And the reason is, if you look at his background, he came from the NFL as a passing game coordinator, quarterbacks coach. Nobody routes plays, passes the passing game, the downfield game, and coaches quarterbacks as well as that guy. And that includes guys in the NFL.
Yeah.
When it comes to run schemes, third and short, fourth and short, and getting the players in the right position and doing the right thing and sticking with it, that's his kryptonite. And he's done it repeatedly. I can point to the games, the Clemson semifinal, when they're up 16-0, should have been 28-0 if he handles that red zone correctly. I begged for him to go to 2 to 3 back sets on 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1, either the full house, the robust, a power eye, anything and they got 3 backs to do it right now. You know, I wrote about it today where they, you know.
You're talking about 3 running backs, not a tailback and a quasi tight end.
Absolutely. I mean, more and more teams are going to robust. Jim Harbaugh did it at Michigan for years, and he also had an athletic quarterback he could sneak with. He got 4 options. I never saw it stopped.
Right.
And, you know, the sneak, I have a problem with him sneaking Julian Sand versus putting Lincoln Kienholz in the game, which they did earlier in the year. But that 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 has bit them over and over again in the 7 years he's been head coach. And here's the thing. They won most of those games, so it's forgotten.
Right.
You remember the first series of Michigan last week? They're down there. They have 5 cracks inside the 2-yard line and don't get a touchdown because the unsportsmanlike gave them 3 more, the headbutt. And they get 1st and goal now on the 2, and they didn't get in again, and they kicked the field goal. Everybody forgot about it. It went away. And the reason was they won 27-9. Who's going to bring that up, right?
Right.
But that's a sign of things that come.
Well, he kind of brought up the fact that things, if you don't take care of business, you don't take care of things, eventually they'll come back to bite you, and they did last week. Well, as we talked last week.
As I watch this team all year long, and they're rolling over people, and they're number 1, I said they had one weakness. I told everybody, but friends I trust.
Yeah.
I said they got one weakness. It's short yardage situations when they need that crucial yard. You look at Washington, their first series. 4th and 1 at the 5. They run C.J. Donaldson off left tackle, don't get anything, and they don't come away empty. Michigan, same thing. Now, I was worried about that being a recurring theme in Michigan. It wasn't. It was this past week.
Yeah, against Indiana.
2 3rd and 1s, 1 at the 4 in the 3rd quarter, 1 at the 9 in the 4th quarter, and on both plays he threw the ball.
Yeah.
I just, the coach.
Well, no, there was a sneak on one.
No, that's
you're talking about the 3rd one.
3rd and 1.
Yeah.
Well, I'm with you. On 4th down.
Right.
So the first one, they come back and sneak on 4th, and that's when Julian slipped, and the replay overturned it. On the 2nd one is when they kicked the field goal and missed it. So the down to get it is on 3rd. And, the coaches I've talked to over the years that get in their power sets and run the ball, whether it be the tush push, whatever you want to call it, or run a power formation, when they got 3rd and short and it's crucial, here's their attitude. I'm going to take 2 plays. They tell the guys, I'm taking 2 plays to get this, and they're both running plays, and they talk to their offensive line, pick this up. We're not throwing the ball here. I think Ryan at times tries to fool people. I think he tries to get too cute instead of trusting his personnel. We are better than you are.
I hear you.
We're going to run the ball twice. Stop us. And you got to trust your guys to get that. And the defense is helpless to stop it if you execute and scheme it correctly. They don't execute it correctly. They don't scheme it correctly. To me, he might be, excuse me, in the eye with he's brought a lineman in a couple times this year.
Yeah. Well, they bring 3 tight ends in plus a tight end for a fullback.
But they're not in the backfield. But so
no, the one tight end's a fullback.
One is. But I'd even go to an extra back, and you got the backs to do it. At least he's not in the shotgun at times. That drives me nuts. You and I've talked about that.
Yeah, I know.
Guys have 4th and 1. They're in the shotgun. Urban used to do it, but Urban had a running quarterback.
Yeah, Urban explained it to me a couple times, and I still thought your best bet is the quarterback under center in that moment.
I look at Ohio State football over the last 25 years. Jim Tressel had Jonathan Wells and then Maurice Claret, and then he had Troy Smith and to Terrell Pryor. So 2 quarterbacks could run the ball and run the zone read. He never faced this issue. Urban had Braxton and then J.T. Barrett. He never faced this issue. Ohio State was a top 6 or 7 red zone team every season. Urban Meyer was the head coach. But Ryan struggles with it, and until he figures it out, he could struggle with it in the playoff. Now, last year, it didn't come back to bite him after the Michigan game. They just went up and down the field and threw it on everybody. So I don't remember the crucial 4th and 2 they had against Texas. They had a running quarterback, Will Howard. Remember, he tripped and fell on his face when he scored. They had that extra dimension. They don't have it this year.
Yeah.
So that's the.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, he's already pondering. He's already told us. I asked him before the Michigan game if he had confidence, but Lincoln Kienholz in the game with the package that he presents, and he basically said, yeah, he has confidence, but of course we didn't see Lincoln Kienholz, and we definitely didn't see him against Indiana when they probably could have used that package. But there's that thought there that if you take your starting quarterback off the field, you're taking your best passer off the field. And so
can I stop you?
Wait, let me finish. And then that takes away maybe a little bit of the conundrum for the defense. No. But see, I argue that Lincoln Kienholz has proven over the last several months that he is a very good passer now.
Listen.
Is he on Julian Sayen's level? No, he is not. But they've got to figure something out there, even from a wildcat situation.
I got a feeling you're right that Ryan thinks that way. It's flawed thinking. You're going to sneak the ball. It doesn't matter. If
I'm just thinking what I've observed. That seems to be what he's thinking.
It doesn't matter if they know you're going to sneak it. They can't stop it. If you got an athletic quarterback and then you get behind him, the rules still let you push him now.
Yeah.
Now, they might not in the next couple of years, but take advantage of that. And you've got an athletic guy that can get it. He's a little bigger than Julian Sand, right? Correct? And he's worked it earlier in the season several times. So at Michigan, Julian Sand sneaks it, doesn't get in. Saturday night against Indiana, he sneaks it, slips, and it's overturned. That's over 2.
Oh, wait a minute. Now, let me ask you this now. Just to be a devil's advocate, what if they had put Lincoln in and Lincoln had slipped the same place and his knee down?
It didn't happen, so why bring it up?
Oh, the only thing is, I'm saying a slip.
That's like saying
a slip is like I even brought up to Ryan the next day. You don't count on a quarterback sneak having a slip in the middle of a quarterback sneak.
I mean,
you just don't count on it.
Let's face it. A bigger quarterback has a better chance. A taller quarterback has a better chance. Well, you brought up that's like saying if JFK wasn't in a convertible limousine.
Oh no! Don't go graphic on me here.
He might still be alive.
That's apples. That's definitely apples and watermelons.
You could replay it all you want.
Yeah.
But what are you saying that if you put Lincoln Keys on, he might have slipped too?
I'm saying that he's not saying
that's ridiculous.
Anybody can slip.
Well. I don't.
The point is, Julian Sayed made the yardage, but his knee touched on a minor slip.
So he didn't make the yardage.
But the point was, the play was sound. He slipped and his knee touched. So you could drop a pass too.
The play was sound or not?
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
The wrong person.
But see, what you're presupposing is if you have 3 backs in the backfield with a quarterback, you're going to score no matter what.
No.
Well, that's the same thing.
No, I'm saying you go to 3 backs and put Lincoln Keynotes behind center. You got 4 options to carry the ball. The defense doesn't know which of the 4 options. You
still got to score, though. You still got to make the yardage. You still got to make the play.
I'm saying your chances are much better to do that than staying in the eye or the pistol with Julian Sane under center, sneaking the ball, nobody shoving him.
Right.
This is obvious.
My point is that play worked. It's just his knee barely touched, and boom. That's the end of the play.
In other words.
Yeah, but I'm saying Lincoln Keynotes.
Ands and buts.
Lincoln Keynotes can slip also.
Oh, my Lord.
There's no guarantee that you put Full House back there, the robust back there, that you're going to score.
When does this play? Please, people, make comments on what he's talking about now. I want to see who's right and who's wrong.
That's because we've had this argument. See, my opinion is you always have Jeremiah Smith on the field. You always have Jeremiah Smith on the field no matter what. So you have this threat standing out there that you as a defense have to worry about. Now, you can only play defense. Really, you can only play defense with 9 guys if you're worried about Jeremiah Smith. But you can play with, my point is, you always have the best player in the country on the field in moments like that, no matter what else you're doing on offense. Well, what do you think about that?
No, I'm saying when you know you're going to run the ball, it doesn't matter if the defense knows you're going to run the ball. If you have the right scheme and play drawn up, they can't stop it because the margin of error is 1 foot to a yard.
I'm with you. I understand that thinking. I understand the thinking.
4th and 2, you're 50-50. You're going to throw it or run it. 4th and this far or a foot to a yard, you're running the football, especially on 3rd and 1. That's what bothers me is the 3rd down calls were both passes.
Okay.
Not the 4th downs.
All right. I was going to say we'll agree to disagree, but you know what? We'll disagree to disagree. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying nothing is a given.
Sure sounds like you are.
The idea that is a given, that's going to get a touchdown is is flawed thinking. Right.
I'm just like saying your chances are better. This is the game of percentages, inches, feet, and percentages.
But I'm saying anybody can slip is what I'm saying.
Watch these other teams across the country. There's 132 Division I teams, and when they got 4th and this much, if they got an athletic or bigger quarterback, and it's crucial 4th, when they sneak it, and a lot of them do the push. Some of them don't. A lot of them do.
I saw Texas at the goal line with the world's greatest schemer, Steve Sarkisian, a year ago.
The other thing, that defense in the middle, they knew what was coming there, and he slipped and lost a yard. I understand. But I'm just saying your percentages of getting it are still better than throwing the football.
So, in other words, you would have had no complaint if they didn't get the first down there if they had robust on the field. Is that what you're saying to me?
They have robust on the field. Lincoln Keynotes are getting it. Okay. They don't need 4th down.
But you don't know. That's my point. There's no given. There's no given.
I'd have C.J. Donaldson, the fullback. He's the bigger back. I'd have either Isaiah and Peoples or Bo and Isaiah flanking him, and you got 4 options. I watched Miami run this year against Florida. more and more teams are going to it. And I tell you what, you use your tailback and fullback to lead to one tackle. The opposite tailback gets the ball. You got two lead blockers.
I'm with you.
Watch that on film. I put something on Facebook today about it.
I'm with you.
He walked in the end zone. I saw Arkansas against Notre Dame this year. Now, Notre Dame killed them. They went to the power eye with two linemen in front of their tailback on 4th and 1. He walked in over left tackle.
Yeah.
And that's not a good Arkansas.
And let's be honest with people here. Ohio State's had many third downs, 3rd and 1s and stuff this season, and they have been successful on quite a few of them.
Absolutely.
And by lining up sometimes 2 tight ends in the backfield, but definitely one tight end as a fullback with 2 tight ends over here on a tight wing and another tight end over here. So basically 4 tight ends on the field and attacking.
First touchdown of the season. Yeah. They're in the eye. They run over left tackle.
Yeah.
And at fourth and goal at the 1 against Texas, C.J. Donaldson gets it. So when he comes back to Washington now,
running the same play, and he got stuffed.
At the 5, he's going to run the same play. He's going to run it over his best side. That's the left side.
Right.
You know that.
Right.
And he gets stuffed. So they got stuffed. The couple weeks ago, they were playing nobody. I forget, Minnesota Rutgers. They got a first and goal on the 1 yard line. He drops back and throws it, gets a holding penalty. Now when you do that, you're on the 11. Remember that? They kicked the field goal. So when you drop back in those situations, you open yourself up. Their margin of error is not great. I mean, it's greater. Let me say, you can have a holding penalty, an interception, OPI, which they had at Oregon last year in the potential winning drive. Yeah. Or the best thing is an incomplete pass. You come back and run it. Yeah. But why do it on first down? I've never liked it. The Clemson game, which they should have won in 2019 against Trevor Lawrence. They're the best team in the country that year. Oh, yeah. Well, number 1, I think they'd have beaten LSU. You know, I've talked about it. First and goal on the 4 yard line on the first drive. Garrett Wilson made a circus catch. It looked like he was 20 feet in the air, if you remember. Yeah. First and goal on the 4. And what was his first play? He threw an incomplete pass. They settled for 3, and they did that throughout that first half. It led 16-0. Well, that could have easily been 28-0 if he used Justin Fields in the zone read with J.K. Dobbins. The running game was lethal that year, and he just went away from it. I think he was just trying to be too cute, but he's done it repeatedly, consistently throughout these 7 years.
So, put yourself in Ryan Day's shoes right now, or in his head. He's gnashing his teeth over those trips inside the 10-yard line against Indiana, 2 of them with 0 points, right? And I'm sure he's contemplating a lot of things. So that would be I agree with you about the Lincoln Keno's package. You've got him there. If you have confidence in him, put him in there. Would you think that would be one of the tweaks? Yes. Going into the game against the winner of Miami, Texas A&M?
Absolutely. But can I ask you something? He did the same thing against Michigan. I think you all asked him afterwards, why didn't you put Keenholz in? You got that in your package. I don't know his answer. What he said.
I don't remember what he said.
So that's the week before.
The point is he didn't do it.
So he didn't learn, and he comes back the very next week and does it again. Yeah. So
But I think they were feeling pretty good. I'll know this. They're feeling pretty good with the say and push, the Julian, whatever you want to call it, whatever nickname we can come up with.
I really believe
they were feeling really good with that particular play, and boom, that's 2 times his knee has gone down. Short of the situation.
Well, it's time to get somebody else in there. Yeah, I mean, you can coach a tight end in practice to do this, and I know that teams in the NFL do that. I think Cade Stover does this, but you get a big tight end in there, and you just give him snap after snap.
He can't go down. He's going to get pushed up.
You're giving snap after snap after snap in practice, so the snap is not an issue. You don't worry about the snap. Yeah. That's what you got to get down. You got a bigger body. It doesn't matter if that defense knows it's coming. You got a bigger guy you can't stop. Yeah. I really believe certain situations Ryan overthinks. I really do. I think the Michigan game last year, he overthought it. I mean, when you're better, you don't need to overthink. You trust your guys to be better than that defense, and you get the first down, get the touchdown, play to win the game. Your personnel's better. Now, the switch went on before the Tennessee game, right? Yeah. And you look at that game plan. You look at the game plan in the Rose Bowl against Oregon, Texas, the championship game against Notre Dame. He let it go. They have a big play against Notre Dame, 3rd and 11 with the game on the line. What do? They throw that out was there for Jeremiah with separation of man coverage, and he went to it. Yeah. Keep that attitude. But what I saw Saturday night scared me again, that he's back to the way it was 2024 in Michigan. Now he's probably going to revert back, hopefully.
Here's what you're saying without saying it. Once you get inside we're talking about the 5 yard line, not like Woody, that inside the 10. Yeah. I think just inside the 10, you got to pretty much put your offense out there. That's my thinking, because I think we've had this discussion before. inside the 5, that first play, you want to run the ball.
It's a down and distance thing.
Right. But
So,
inside the 5, first down, you want to run the ball.
It's a down and distance.
Second down, that's where you might throw it.
Well, it depends what you get on first.
Okay.
But Tom Osborne,
Exactly.
I wrote a book with Tom Osborne.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time with him. He taught me a very valuable lesson. Never forgot it. He goes, Jeff, football is a series of 10-yard games, 10-yard battles.
Yeah.
When I'm on
First
the
downs,
45 and I got a 1st and 10, my goal is not to score a touchdown. My goal is to get to the 35.
Yeah.
What am I now? If I don't want to kick a field goal, what are my 4 best plays to get to that 35? Get to the 35? What are my 4 best plays to get to the 25?
Yeah.
Now, some guy might break one and he scores. That saves me a lot of trouble, right? But that's what you do. And I see guys on 2nd and a foot, maybe 2nd and a yard, drop back to throw a lot of times. You know what happens? They get a holding penalty. Now what do you got?
Not all the time.
Well, I'm saying it happens frequently.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Or you get somebody jump and pass pro.
Yeah.
Now you're second. You wasted those 9 yards.
Yeah.
But when you get inside the 10, you got a first down. So say you're the first goal at the 7. The way I think is I got a 3-yard head start. I don't need 10. I got 4 plays to get 7. If it's first and goal at the 4, I got 4 plays to get 4. Why are you throwing the ball?
Yeah.
Get in the right package and run the ball.
Yeah.
And then first and goal at the 1, I wouldn't throw it in a million years.
Yeah, I'm hearing you. So what's your take on Ohio State sitting here right now? Do you sense there will be a renewal like there was a year ago going into these playoffs now? They got to win 3 games to win a national championship. Doesn't sound like much, but it's a lot.
I do think emotionally they'll reset, recharge. Maybe it's what they needed to refocus. This issue we're talking about worries me. When you play good defense, it's like A&M. A&M's got a better defense than Miami. And say they come to this issue. I hope he figures this out because they don't have what they had last year. They had Quinshon Judkins could break tackles, as you saw in the Penn State game, drove them off the goal line single-handedly, right?
Yep.
That Penn State never touched the ball again when they're on their own 1 or 2 yard line.
Yeah.
Now you got Will Howard. They take him away. You run the zone read. Look at what he did last year. The Texas game.
Oh, yeah.
The end of the Penn State game. That is a big dimension. Having those 2 guys break tackles, run the zone read. They don't have either one of them now. They got 3 good backs, but these guys don't break a ton of tackles. I mean, Bo Jackson had a touchdown right the other night, and the D tackle reached around and grabbed him from behind and got his thigh. That Quinshon breaks that and scores. And it's not anything on Bo. It's not anything about Bo. Bo Jackson's going to be a great back. He's going to be an All-American back. That's not what I'm saying.
I know exactly what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you got Will Howard. And Julian Saint's not Will Howard. As good as he is dropping back, great passer, smart, great quarterback. They don't have the running aspect in this offense they had a year ago.
You know,
and every once when you get crunch time, you need that. Like against Texas, that won the game. They don't have it this year.
You know, it's funny that the play that really would have broken that game open against Indiana was the deep ball to Jeremiah Smith.
Yeah, just underthrew a little bit.
It was barely underthrown a little bit, so he had to slow down, catch it, and that gave that beaten corner a chance to catch up.
Yeah.
And that's kind of been a little bit of a theme is you get down there with a really good play, and then you kick a field goal.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the worst feeling I would think in the world.
It is. And, when he made the corner miss after he comes back, I thought he was still going to score.
Yeah, I did too.
He cut to the middle. It looks like he tripped on himself.
He
He'll
did.
still score.
Yeah.
And when that happens, you're not worried about it for one reason. Well, they're going to score now.
Right.
But they didn't. And it's the same thing, in the third quarter down there. Well, they're going to score. I mean, think of the big plays. The face mask, the final drive, they get a face mask. Automatic first down at the 9-yard line. They're going to score now and win the game. Everybody expected that. I expected it. Yeah, they should have won the game 24-13, the way I look at it.
That's what Ryan basically, we did toted up the points the other day in a press conference. That's what he was thinking. And the point is, he's kicking himself thinking all this.
Yeah, absolutely should.
And it does come down to this. It really, this. You can scheme up anything you want. Remember when Art went the wrong way at Michigan behind Von Broadnax? The way the story went, according to Earl Bruce, they called the play for the other side, but he went the other way.
No, that's not right.
And I'm just telling you what Earl said. I'm telling you what Earl Bruce said about it.
Earl had a bad memory.
No, but anyway, the bottom line is they figured out a way to get into the end zone. And then finally, sometimes it comes down to guys just making a play no matter what.
No, absolutely. Ball blocked 3 guys.
Who do you feel good about on this team of making a play?
Well, obviously Jeremiah and Carnell Tate in the pass game. Brandon Ennis is a good third option. They got 4 good tight ends. I mean, any one of those tight ends can play.
Oh yeah.
Just so you know, you probably saw it. 4th down at the goal line against Michigan in the first series. They had 4th and 1. Now this is their 5th play. they were running a tight end delay with Jelani Thurman. He was going to just stand all alone and catch a touchdown pass. It was there, and Bennett Christian jumped before the play was snapped.
Right.
So, Julian doesn't see that.
It was going to be.
He fakes and rolls to the right, and Thurman is supposed to delay block. He blocks and delays releases. It's a wide open touchdown. It would have made his season, because he hadn't caught that many passes.
He's had a play like that already this year.
He did. But catch you want to get some issues.
Oh, yeah.
And the other tight end who's on the opposite side of the play, I mean, you're telling yourself when that count's going, don't move. I'm not involved in this play. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's on the left side. He's not going to be involved in the play.
Yeah.
And he just flinched.
So those little things, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, take a 3. That's a 4-point flinch.
And that was a hell of a call. That was a hell of a play.
Yeah, it's a 4-point
and like
flinch.
third one down there on before the field goal try against Indiana. It was a roll right, sprint right is what I call it. And you had the back release out of the backfield. Looked like if you'd thrown it to him immediately, he would have at least gotten down in there. You had the backside, which was Bennett Christian, coming across the tight end, which was where he threw the ball. But if you look back into the middle, the guy he had faked to, the fullback who had lined up in the fullback tight end, lined up in the backfield, just broke. I'm drawing a blank now on his name. But anyway, nobody picked him up.
You can go over this play all you want.
I know.
With who was open. It was a terrible play call.
Yeah.
You run the ball there.
Well, I think if the quarterback runs there, you got something.
And the result is proof that I'm right on this.
Right.
You run the ball. Your margin of error is a lot less running the ball than rolling to the right with 3 guys coming.
Yeah, but they had 2 guys in the backfield with the quarterback.
But here's the thing. He knew going into third down, if he doesn't get it, he's going to kick a field goal.
Right.
So your mindset should be, I'm taking 2 running plays to get this. Not I'm going to throw it. If I don't get it, I'm kicking a field goal. Run it twice, you're going to win the game.
Gotcha.
Don't play for the tie. There you got the ball on the 9, you're going to win. So anyway, that's me.
Yeah.
And I know that a lot of our coaches I've talked to, they agree.
I think the way I would approach that is you got 3 downs to get a touchdown. If you don't get the touchdown, you make sure you tie the game. And that's exactly what they did, and it kicked them in the rear end. Last thing, Miami, Texas A&M. How do you see that game going? Because, I mean, I'm looking at this. I think Ohio State matches up decently offense to their defense with both of those teams.
I think they match up better with Miami because you got Carson Beck, a drop back thrower who does it.
No, I'm talking about Ohio State's offense against their defenses.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we'll do the other one in a second.
Against their defense, A&M's got a better defense by far. They've had a couple bad games.
Yes.
The Notre Dame game, they gave up 41 points, still won the game. Texas in the second half, they got gashed.
Yeah.
Now they had the lead at the halftime, 10-3. They got gashed in the second half.
Yes.
And I'm sure you spent all last 3 weeks as a Thanksgiving game going, getting it. But they hadn't been gashed before. Now, South Carolina jumped out with 30 points. A lot of that was a little bit fluky. I watched that ball game. And, of course, they come storming back.
Turnovers, yeah.
A&M has got a ton of talent. They really do. If you want to flip it around, now the other side, Ohio State can move it on either defense, let's be clear.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Well, going against those 2 offenses, they match up better with Miami's offense and Carson Beck dropping into the pocket because he doesn't run the ball. And then they do A&M with Marcel Reed. Marcel Reed can take a bad play and make it a 60-yard touchdown. He can take a disastrous play and make it a 12-yard gain. He's that good. And now both of these quarterbacks might turn it over. Carson Beck's known for that. He had 4 against Louisville that cost them the game. He did it at Georgia that last year. They really weren't disappointed he left.
They washed their hands up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because he turned it over so much. Marcel Reed will throw a bad pick now and then. At the same time, he is dynamic. If he's on, I mean, he's going to give Ohio State a handful because, it's like the Washington quarterback, but he's bigger and faster. So you got to either spy him, contain rush. It's a whole different approach than what they're going to get with Miami. Those 2 game plans will be totally different. And A&M's got good backs. Miami's got a freshman receiver. I tell you what.
Yeah.
He's at my son's high school down there in Plantation, American Heritage. And that kid is dynamic. But A&M's got great receivers, too. They had a bunch of transfers. They went whole hog in the portal. And they got talent up and down. And they're going to have a bigger crowd there. Miami doesn't travel that well. Ohio State should be rooting for Miami to win this game because, not only will they have a home field advantage crowd-wise, they just match up better with Carson Beck.
I'm with you. I agree 100% with that assessment. Last thing. Getting back to the Ryan Day and this era, you're a big-time, long-time Ohio State fan, but definitely critic. You know what I mean? You critique things. You don't just show up in scarlet and gray and go, "Oh, this is great." You're one of the great critiquers of football I've ever known. What I'm asking you is, I've been saying this for a while now, since 2000, really, starting 2002. Let's start at 2002. This is the golden era of Ohio State football.
It is, and yet, and I don't.
They've got 3 national championships.
Let me start by saying I don't like the word critic. I like to say I'm objective.
No, I said critique.
Oh, I think you said that was a critic.
No, you critique the games.
I like to be objective.
You don't just go, we won, move on.
But when I look at you talking about 2000 and now, you know how many more titles they could have?
No,
but I want to say that 06, Tressel could have had one more, and then I look at Irvin, should have won in 15, and now I look at Ryan. Ryan could have easily won in 19, 20. Alabama was better, but 19 and 22. So 19, I think they have the best team. In 22,
wait, let me interrupt one thing, ladies and gentlemen. I've heard this 1,000 times, and it still irks me. But go ahead.
But they have.
It irks me that people live in the past like this. But go ahead.
God.
But go ahead.
You said this is a golden era of football.
It is.
I'm answering that question.
Okay.
Whereas,
it could have been more golden. Is what you're saying.
God, they could.
Of course. Everybody knows that.
They talk about no, they don't. And when you break
except Indiana
when
fans.
They talk about Alabama being a dynasty. It could be an Ohio State dynasty the last 20 years.
Oh yeah.
They're this far away.
Oh yeah.
They don't overturn that targeting on Marvin Harrison. They beat Georgia because they had a first and goal at the 2, and they're already up by 2 scores. And then they would have kicked the out of TCU the following week. Ryan could be sitting here with 3 titles. Right now.
Yeah.
19, 22, and last year. And he's not. He's got 1.
But you can't do anything about that. Here's my point. I'm talking about golden era.
I'm just saying I'm
talking about the golden era in terms of level of play.
It's
level of the program, where it is. There's only one other program right now, in my opinion, two, because I think Indiana is legit. I know that sounds funny, but I really do think Indiana's legit, and I don't think it's going anywhere. It may slack a little bit next year, or maybe not, but I think Indiana's legit. But Georgia and Ohio State, in my opinion, are the 2 premier programs right now. What's your take on that?
I would agree with that. Throw Indiana in if they can sustain it. They've only got 2 years of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, what Kirby's got going down there, won back-to-back titles.
Yeah.
Ohio State needs another one.
Yeah.
They really do. I mean, they're so close to having so many more than they do. I mean, and go through the years. I'm not living in the past. That's a fact. When I say close, I'm talking about one play.
I know what you're talking about.
1 year, one play, another year. Some of them are officials' calls. That Fiesta Bowl overturned that scoop and score, and the targeting with Sean Long. Then you go to the Georgia overturning that. Neither one of those makes sense. I'll guarantee you today, now, if you were in the offseason, you're talking to Ryan Day about this, and he's honest, he just couldn't sleep after those, and he would tell you, hey, yeah, I got 1 title. I should have 3.
Yeah.
And if he's honest. Now, I'm not going to say that to the media.
I agree with you.
But he's thinking it.
I agree with you.
I mean, he felt like he was snake bitten until they beat Notre Dame.
Yeah.
And understandably so. So I don't call it the golden era yet. Plus, you throw in the Michigan factor. Hey, let's face it, 1972 to 75, Woody didn't lose to him. Then you go to Urban. He's 7-0. You go to Tressel, he's 9-1. Those could be considered golden eras. Now, they weren't winning titles, but they were kicking the crap out of the team up north every year and going to a major bowl every year.
Yeah.
The golden era, has been since 2002, if you want to say that. But Woody had his run, too, when he didn't.
Yeah, he had his run. I mean, he had his run. He had his denouement, and he came back just like Bear Bryant did.
Archie and Cornelius Green went to 4 straight Rose Bowl.
I know.
That's a golden era.
I know.
But no, when it comes to national titles, this is it. But they need to add another. You can't space them 10 years apart and wait another 10 years. That's not a golden era to me.
That's still pretty damn good.
It's good, but they
won a decade's pretty good.
It's not like they're not competing those other 9 years. They're on the cusp of winning more.
That's my point.
Yeah, they just can't get to the threshold of doing it.
That's my point. But, hook or crook. There's sometimes hook and crook comes into play. Hey, last question I wanted to ask you. There's always a bonus for me, right? Fernando Mendoza. I like saying his name because I took 2 years of Spanish in high school and another year in college. Fernando Mendoza. Should the Browns be looking heavily at Fernando? And give me your assessment.
I'm not big on his NFL future like everybody else is.
Okay, yeah.
I love the kid. The kid's tremendous.
But go ahead now.
But no, I just see certain things. Evaluating NFL quarterbacks, the NFL or prospects coming out. NFL reaches so much. I could have told you J.J. McCarthy was going to bust. I mean, what they saw in him. I'm not saying he won't be drafted high because that's what they do in the NFL. Yeah. He's older, he's mature, he's going to interview well. Those interviews at the combine, he'll ace those.
Yeah.
You'll fall in love with the kid. But I don't know. I'm a Browns fan, and I hope they don't take him, especially after using your 3rd and 5th round.
Yeah.
Excuse me, this year on 2 quarterbacks.
So who are you leaning on then?
Well, I wouldn't take a quarterback.
I said, who are you going? Who's your quarterback?
Well, they're going to play Shedeur the rest of the year. You announced that today.
I know, but I mean, is that your guy? I'm asking you.
Well, my son loves the kid. Me, I'm not sold yet. I wish he'd clean up a little bit of it.
But you got to be yourself, bro.
Well, you're the face of a franchise. I wish you clean up a little bit of his demeanor, lose the cockiness, be humble, get in the room and study. I don't think he did that when Dylan Gabriel was a starter as much as he is now. Man, that's a flaw. You got to do that and be ready. Yeah. And I've known Deion since he's 17 years old.
I know,
and I know he raised him right. He's a good kid at heart. But we'll see how it plays out. I like Dylan Gabriel coming out, except for his size, but he wasn't worth the 3rd round pick. If they don't take him in the 3rd round, he's going to last a while,
right?
And apparently, if they didn't take Shedeur in the 5th, he might have been a free agent.
So going back to Mendoza, you would not take him in the top 2-3 rounds?
No. Well, no. I didn't say that.
Wait, no. Yeah, that was my bad. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I said first round.
I absolutely, he's probably worth a 2nd round.
All right.
He's not going to last that long.
Yeah.
But somebody's going to take a shot at him at late 1st or 2nd, if not higher. So no, the Browns have so many other needs. If they take a 3rd and 5th this year in a quarterback, come back, take him in the 1st round, boy, this proves that hey, we screwed up, we made a mistake. Now we're going to try to correct it, and I hope they don't.
Are you like me? I mean, I'm honest about Julian saying I'm telling you, I've never seen a passer at Ohio State, and I've covered since 1984 live. I've never seen a player of his ilk from the standpoint of just throwing the football. And I'm talking about, we talk about Joe Germain, how accurate he was, but he had a little bit of that, floater, you know what I mean? Not that real zip ball. Troy Smith, wow. I would put Troy and Julian Sayin in the same sentence now in terms of what I've seen, the way they throw the ball, the way they can be off, the way they can get out of the pocket and still throw the ball. I really like the future for Julian Sayin as the quarterback at Ohio State. What's your take?
Well, when you go to Ohio State quarterbacks, let me add one more name, and it was only a 1-season glimpse.
Dwayne Haskins Jr.
Dwayne Haskins in 2018 was as good as it gets.
Yes.
And, sadly,
I agree, 100%.
He came out. So
the numbers back that up.
I wish he would have had another year that stayed, and it's sad ending the way he ended. But boy, he was good that year. He set a lot of Big Ten records. So when you're talking about accuracy of the Ohio State quarterback, he's right up there. I forget what his completion percentage was. It wasn't 78.9.
No, but it was good.
But it's funny, when I was in school, and I just talked to Art Schleicher about
touchdown passes
recently. His career percentage is 53%.
I know.
And he was an All-American. You think about that, but the offenses were different. He was dropping back with his back to the line of scrimmage.
Play action
on 3rd and 18. That offense was so obsolete and archaic, and that's why
it beat Woody's though.
He had a 53% passing. And so when you look at Julian in this offense, I mean, he's got every weapon available, and he's going to get better and better. These next year, I hope he stays 2 more years, but he's really going to have a good year next year with a year experience. But he's everything other than the running aspect. He doesn't have, but he does everything else very, very, very well.
Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's my good buddy Jeff Snook. Now you've heard him, seen him again, but maybe we'll get together again in a year after we, after our corners, maybe patch up some of these cuts and stuff I endured during that fight. But Jeff Snook, thanks again.
I took it easy on you.
I know you did, man. You never threw the uppercut.
And I appreciate it.
You never threw the uppercut.
If people could see us sitting at a restaurant talking, this is the cleaned up version without the shouting.
Yeah, we just came from the City Square Steakhouse in Worcester, and
we didn't have any big arguments.
No, we didn't tonight, but a lot of times we get animated. Is that the best way of putting it?
Well, you argue just to argue sometimes. I could go outside on a clear day and say the sky's blue, and you come on and say, no, it's aqua today.
Not true. He argues also, ladies and gentlemen. but thanks for joining me, man, on this
thanks for having me,
on the Tim May Show.
Sure, appreciate it.
I always enjoy my conversations with Jeff Snook. I wish I could get somehow another charge admission for other people to sit around us in a restaurant when we're shooting the bull. Because there were a lot of people would agree with him, and a few might agree with me. I'm right sometimes.
So you need a studio audience to
No, I need an arbitrator is what I need. Is what I need. But yeah, studio audience would be great, because sometimes we've been, and all of a sudden 2 or 3 people are listening in, and they start chiming in. Like I don't know if you ever done that. I mean, cool. Coming back from bowl games occasionally, I get accosted is not the right word at all. but all of a sudden
fans,
somebody will recognize you. And next thing you want to know about, the latest loss or win.
Right.
And next thing you know, there's 5 or 8 people standing around, and because there are Buckeye fans everywhere, as you well know,
waiting on your answer.
No, just wanting an explanation. What the hell was that? Or, wow, that was great, wasn't it? You know what I mean?
Right.
It's always one way or the other. But Jeff, Jeff and you got an acquaintance. You're an acquaintance with Jeff. He gave you some praise there, and I give it up to him, man. He's a self-made businessman who was once a sports writer in his life, where he decided he wanted to make some real money, and got out of it and got into the real estate. But he can't keep himself from writing. He writes extensively on Facebook, and good for him. But I always give him a plug anytime I can, because he's one of my best friends, man.
Yeah, he's there's few people that you should now you wear so many hats, but you should add, maybe you do on your resume, you're a historian, as is Mr. Snook. Jack Park was a historian, but people who have that breadth of knowledge, and there's not many. And so I put you and Jeff.
What about yourself, man?
No,
you covered stuff down in Mississippi before you moved all over the world and ended up in Columbus, Ohio, about 30 years ago. I mean, you've seen stuff too. So what? You're. I guess you consider yourself a hysterian, as in hysterical.
No, as I told you,
hysterican.
As I told him off camera, I speak in sentence fragments. I'm on TV. I write 3 paragraphs.
Yeah,
he writes in chapters.
I used to.
Seriously.
I don't anymore. I'm going to have a guy on later this week, maybe Dave Jones from Pennsylvania, originally from Columbus, Ohio, and worked at the Columbus Dispatch before he moved. I didn't know moved east. Oh yeah, for a long time. Okay. He was a TV critic and all kinds of things, some sports writing, etc. And he became a well-known, highly respected sports writer, covering Joe Paterno and all the stuff that happened there. And then since then, and he's retired now, but he'll have some good takes on a lot of things. But speaking of good takes on a lot of things, is there a couple things you wanted to hit on before we're done here?
Yeah, we got a couple items of football related. Ohio University has fired football coach Brian Smith for allegedly, quote, engaging in serious professional misconduct, according to a statement from the school. Brian Smith was put on extended leave very suddenly one morning, was pulled out of a meeting, I believe. And there was no explanation for the last 2 or 3 weeks. The other item is Ted Ginn Jr. And I literally, when I read it, I was like, I wanted to put senior because he's the coach, but Ted Ginn Jr., the former Buckeye great and the guy who's faster than Nolan the Nat Smith, will be the new head coach of the UFL's Columbus Aviators, not Invaders, Columbus Aviators. They'll play at Crew Stadium next spring. And the last football item is I am renouncing my allegiance to the Dallas Cowboys. It doesn't rate with the other mentions, but still love Dak, but I can't do it anymore. 6-7-1.
Dude, you're either a fan or you're not a fan. I mean, you don't renounce because they lose.
Well, I just renounced.
You still root for Mississippi State, and look how much they've lost. I mean, right on down the line. Number 3, clarify, Ted Ginn Jr. is not the new head coach. He's going to be the first head coach in Columbus Aviators history.
I apologize.
So he will be a footnote no matter what, no matter how the league or the season take place. By the way, they're going to play primarily in the spring. Is that right?
Spring.
Just like all the other startup leagues that have come and gone. Good for him, man.
But they can have a nice atmosphere. Excuse me. Get 10, 12,000 people in there, and he'll put some former Buckeyes on the roster. So I think it will be of interest if you need a tan one Sunday afternoon. Whatever.
I wonder if his primary urge for his players will be run faster like me. I'm curious. His dad, long time, big time, highly respected, been through some travails from a physical standpoint personally, but Ted Ginn Sr. at Glenville. And then after that, bottom line, Ted Ginn Sr. has etched his name in Ohio State Buckeye lore for the players he's produced, et cetera. And not the least of whom was Troy Smith, 2006 Heisman Trophy winner, his own son, Ted Ginn Jr. But Yeah, I'm sure his dad will be at least in the background there, giving some direction to his son being a first-time head coach.
He'll be an analyst for the Columbus Aviators. I've gotten to know his dad more than probably Junior over the years, and it's just been really enriching. It takes me back to the South a little bit, and just because you're not covering Ohio State, you're covering high schools or schools that don't have 100 reporters, and you get to have a relationship with that person, and done several pieces with him over the years. And he's just a special guy.
Absolutely. Absolutely special guy is the best way of putting it. Well, that pretty much does it for this show. We're going to be back obviously on Friday. We do 3 of these a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And they come out when our good buddy Tim Ham takes care of business in the production end of it.
And
down in Dallas. And also Tito, our I don't know what I'd call him. I'd call him our production key grip, because when our computer jammed just a few minutes ago, he was in here lickety split, got her going again. Had to squirt some WD-40 somewhere, and boom, we're back running again. But ladies and gentlemen, we always appreciate you coming on with us. And by the way, I wanted to ask you one last thing. Speaking of the Ohio University coach, you were gone. You were gone when the, hit the fire in Michigan suddenly last Wednesday as we speak, and Sharon Moore was summarily dismissed as the head coach of the University of Michigan. And just one, obviously he had some kind of dalliance with someone on staff, a female on staff is what we're led to believe. And it, when they finally got unassailable, is that the right term? No, not unassailable. The kind of proof you can't disprove. It's real proof. What's that called? But anyway, when they finally got proof that in fact it had happened, because they'd been looking into it for a little while, but then all of a sudden, I guess someone became state's evidence, for lack of another term, and boom, he was gone, literally like that. And just what was your reaction without going too crazy on it?
No, just dumbfounded, really. And I reached out to a number of people who I've worked with or whatever, and I said, for the first time in about a year and a half or two, I wanted to be in a newsroom, because this thing was just happening. It was like every 5 minutes there's something new. Track it. It just it's hard to no, it's not hard to believe, to be honest. But as Beth Poggi said, I guess yesterday, the team has now felt betrayed. So you've gone all these different emotions for them. And how in the world do you hire a football coach when your whole athletic department is under investigation? That'll be a smooth move there.
That'll be a rodeo move where you go out and get that calf roping. Yeah. Because I'm telling you, I would be. Here's the one thing you got going for you. You got to figure Michigan will get its act back together in the athletic department because of everything there, the history, the tradition, the winningest program in college football history, meaning total number of wins, et cetera.
Right.
Will get its act back together. But how long will that act take to get back together? And who's really hiring you? Can Ward Manuel, even as we speak here, he's still the athletic director. Does he face even more scrutiny than before? Will he be the guy who's hiring you? Who's hiring you? They're still looking for, I think, a full-time president, if I'm not mistaken, at this moment. I mean, what are you walking into?
Yeah.
And will you be given some years to get that act back together? Because I'm telling you, this is bad news. It's just too bad.
To quote John Cooper, as he used to say about Michigan all the time, they won't be down for long.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
As he always said, when you look for a job, you always took out the first thing you did when people were looking at you for a job, because he got, John Cooper was one of the more courted head coaches in history as he came up, believe it or not. I know a lot of people look at 2-10-1 and can't believe that, but the record against Michigan, but I remind him he's the second winningest coach of all time in Ohio State history. But the bottom line is, as he said, take out the press guide, show me what they've done in the past. That's a harbinger of what they will probably do in the future.
Yeah.
Now, a great aberration when it comes to that is look at Indiana, which has lost 2 games over the last 2 seasons and won a Big Ten championship for the first time since 1967, and is the number 1 seed in the college football playoff, undefeated. Just beat Ohio State for the Big Ten championship under Kurt Cignetti. They're what 20. They're what
24-2.
24-2,
and they have a Heisman Trophy winner.
and they have a Heisman Trophy winner for the first time ever. Things can get turned around. I mean, turned around is not the right term.
No,
it was never turned that way. It's been turned up
Oh,
at
kids,
Indiana.
the kids love
But the
that.
point is, man, the first part of this decade, the first 5 years of this decade have been the greatest thrill-making roller coaster in Michigan football history. When you think about it, COVID, they didn't play Ohio State and had an awful record to winning a national championship under Jim Harbaugh in 2023. The Connor Stallions affair during all of that and how it tainted that national championship for everybody who's not a Michigan fan. And now what they're dealing with, it's crazy. What's gone on. And just when you think you've seen everything, ladies and gentlemen,
You haven't.
you haven't.
You know, and we read that Jim Harbaugh is now counseling Sharon Moore.
Good luck with that.
All right, baby. And with that,
Coaches Anonymous. What said here stays here. But with that said, I'm Tim May. That's Clay Hall. This has been the Tim May Show featuring Clay Hall. We'll see you next time.